With Falcon hockey coach Steve Freeman. And Steve, the Falcons had a huge weekend, winning the NCHA Peters Cup opening round series at UW-Stevens Point, losing on Friday 2-1, but coming back on Saturday and winning 4-1 and the mini game 3-1 to advance. Could you tell us a little bit more about those games?
Yeah, obviously in the playoffs it's a completely different situation where you're playing for your lives. So a great deal of intensity by both teams. Friday night was a real close checking game. In a 2-1 game, we had our chances to win it. Stevens Point played very well, and both goaltenders were sharp. When we just came out a little bit short. The Saturday night, we made some adjustments on the video during the day, things that we weren't doing very well that we could easily change, and they really paid off the dividends. We got to the net a little bit better, got many more chances. Our power play, we cleaned that up a little bit and got a couple power play goals, so that was really the difference. But great intensity, big hits, great plays, everything you could expect in a hockey game.
Steve, I'd like to talk a little bit about the mini game. The last couple of times the Falcons have played the mini game, they've been on the road. I think Stout a couple of years ago, obviously this past weekend at Point, and come out and won those mini games. Like Saturday, you were up 4-1 after a couple periods. So, do you say, okay, let's kind of relax a little bit and slow down, fearing that the momentum, you may not keep that momentum, or, and the good part about it is, you can rest some guys and get ready for the mini game. How do you look at that? How are your thoughts on that?
Well, in the 4-1 game, it was a little bit different situation. Every year it's a little different. Sometimes you're only ahead by a goal and you just got to keep pushing and pushing. But when we had that 3-goal lead, we were very sound defensively. We kept the extra guy back, and we played a lot in the neutral zone and things like that. And sometimes the team just does that on their own. We talked about being sound defensively, but still we wanted to try and pick up a goal or two if we could. But so we played back and played very, very defensive in that third period, and it worked out because Stevens Point didn't get a goal. But then when you get ready for the mini game right afterwards, it's like, can we shift gears mentally enough where we can score a goal in the mini game and get that thing going? So we talked about that between periods, that we're going to have to score to win, and we got to change our attitude a little bit going into there. We planned for it. We talked about during the day, and even the week before, we talked about if you get in a mini game, it's a brand new game. You got to be mentally kind of clean your whole thought process up and start over from scratch. You can change your lineup. We had the guys bring dry T-shirts and dry socks so they feel a little bit fresher, like it's a new game. And we put a new player in the lineup and changed our lineup up a little bit. So it turned out okay, but it's a 1-1 game. We come out and score first, and the guys got very excited like we had already won it. And with 7 minutes to go, Stevens Point gets a nice tip-in goal, and it's tied up 1-1. And both teams had chances that went up and down. You'd think it would have been a lot more close checking, but I think we had 3 or 4 2-on-1s, and Point had a couple 2-on-1s. So it was pretty wide open, and the goaltenders were awesome on both ends. And Scott Lewin made some saves that were just unbelievable that saved the season for us. And then, Collegiate came down, walked off the boards, and a couple of defensemen kind of went down on some poke checks, and he roughed it. And sometimes you just think that the hockey gods are smiling that night. You get a break, but through the season, some of that hard work and some of that stuff does pay off, and we like to think that we earned it.
Steve, looking ahead, the Falcons continue, obviously, their season, but they go to NCHA regular season champions UW-Eau Claire on Saturday. This is a one-game semifinal, starts at 7 o'clock at Hobbs Arena. Your thoughts going into this one?
Well, we're going to have to play a great game. They're at home, and they're rested. They had last weekend off, and probably maybe one of probably the best team in the country, the way they've played all season this year. Extremely fast. It's hard to break their forecheck and things. So, we're going to have to make a couple adjustments and play a very sound game. But, I like our chances. A one-game shot, a lot of times it comes down to goaltending. So, last time we played them over there a couple weeks ago as a 3-2 game, and we had our chances to win that when things settled down the second half of the game. And, we're excited to be playing. The guys are playing well right now. We're getting good secondary scoring now at this time of year. Because when you get in a situation like that, a lot of times your first 2 lines will play to a standstill, the better 2 lines. And then if you can get that third and fourth line chipping in, which we have been getting the last couple weekends, that's huge. And that was the difference in the point series.
Steve, good luck to the Falcons, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, Jim.